Coming up on OU Nightly, a deadly shooting shakes in Oklahoma high school, their road to recovery. Plus, what a government shutdown means for local federal workers. And it's National Coffee Day, where you can get your caffeine fix while supporting a good cause. This is OU Nightly.
Watching OU Nightly, I'm Noah Mack.
And I'm Victoria Anderson. Choctaw High School played their first home football game this week, 1 month after a fatal shooting devastated the community.
OU Nightly's Kenzie Eiserman shows us how the Yellow Jackets are setting the gold standard and moving forward.
The bells were ringing and fans cheered as Choctaw High School was back at home for their first home football game a month after gunfire erupted at the end of their home opener. 1 child died, 4 others were wounded, and the community wondered if Friday Night Lights would ever return.
It was really a parent's worst nightmare to see everybody running.
Although the shooting left fear in the community, Choctaw continues to find the light in the dark tunnel.
It's so safe here. Nothing will happen in Choctaw, and it did. And we all were just really shocked by it, but we've really came together and helped build Choctaw back up.
Heading into homecoming week, Choctaw High School sent out many emails to parents and students reminding them of the updated rules for the football game. But despite those additions, some were still a little fearful heading into the game.
It's a little scary, a little nerve-wracking, but it feels good to be back here and know that we've put so many safety precautions in and make us feel really, really safe and more comfortable.
As you can see, there is a large crowd that came together as a community, not just for homecoming, but also for each other.
It kind of chokes me up a little bit to think about because, I love this community. Football players know how much they mean to this community, and so it really wasn't just a football game.
Not all stories have fairy tale endings, but Vaught's experience under the lights did.
I was really discouraged about not getting to play here, people thinking that something bad was going to happen, but our school has just really came together and made it so much better, and this homecoming is the best I could have asked for.
The Yellow Jackets shut out the Capitol Hill Red Wolves 71-0. In Choctaw, Kenzie Eiserman, OU Nightly.
Choctaw High School says they will keep their updated rules until further notice. The Yellow Jackets' next home game is October 12th against the Northwest Classen Knights.
And we're watching Capitol Hill as a government shutdown is almost certain for this weekend. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy's last-ditch effort to keep the government open failed after his stopgap spending bill failed to get enough votes. With no deal in sight, operations will most likely stop Sunday at 12 a.m. Eastern Time. Disaster recovery projects, cancer research, and more will be delayed as federal employees will be forced to work without pay. And if the government does shut down, that could affect many of Oklahoma's federal employees, including some here in Norman. OU Nightly's Dakota Wapakichi is outside the National Weather Center. Dakota, the last government shutdown started in 2018. What can we expect this time?
That's right. The last shutdown lasted 35 days, and many people inside the National Weather Center behind me would be furloughed if that happened again. Representative Tom Cole from Moore says he doesn't believe there will be a solution found in time.
Obviously, we've got our challenges here as well, and the two chambers are a long way apart. Again, I'm not at all confident we won't end up in a shutdown.
The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration says some employees will be furloughed and many will still be working throughout the shutdown. Those workers wouldn't be paid until after the shutdown, according to a congressional research project. And this isn't just the case for the National Weather Center. Places like Tinker Air Force Base and the OKC National Memorial and Museum would also go through this. The National Memorial would lose their National Park Rangers who patrol outside on the sacred grounds. But the memorial is not owned by the federal government, so they say their staff and volunteers would fill in for the park rangers. Now, federal employees would have free admission to the National Museum, and about 3 million Americans worked for the federal government in 2022, so many people will be watching for a decision on Capitol Hill this weekend. Outside of the National Weather Center, I'm Dakota Wapakichi, OU Nightly.
Thanks, Dakota. Today marks the first day of Parents Weekend with many new faces out and about in Norman. OU meteorologist Peyton Gallion has your family weekend forecast.
What can we expect, Peyton?
Well, right now it is super hot outside. We can see 91 in Norman, 93 in Ardmore, up in the city, 90 degrees, very hot all across the state. And so these temperatures are high, and so are these allergy indices. You can see that weed index is just very high, followed by this mold and tree and grass pollen. So coming up in Maine weather, I'm going to talk about this omega block pattern we have currently in our forecast, along with the cool down coming in your forecast for the prime time at the Palace on the Prairie.
Thank you, Peyton. Today is National Coffee Day, and one Norman coffee shop does things a little differently. Second Wind Coffee Shop brews a fine cup of joe, but what it serves best is the Norman community.
The goal of Second Wind is just to have like a landing place for people in the community. We're actually a nonprofit organization, so every semester we choose a different local organization to donate all of our proceeds to. So we're really big on mutual aid and just helping out in the community.
Second Wind Coffee Shop also has special events like music and poetry nights. You can find more through their Instagram page.
Up next on OU Nightly, floods rage through the United States' largest city. Take a look at the damage ahead.
And it's been nearly 30 years since the murder of one of hip-hop's most influential artists. Details on the new arrest made after this. Water rescues underway in New York after heavy rain slams the state. Spencer Tabb has that and the rest of today's national headlines from the News Center. Spencer?
New York City is in a state of emergency after dangerous and life-threatening rainfall flooded the area. More than 4 inches of rain surged over parts of Brooklyn in just 3 hours, adding to the 5 inches that fell overnight. The downpour shut down streets, subways, railroads, and delayed flights into LaGuardia Airport. Mayor Eric Adams urged people to stay put if possible. After almost 30 years, a witness is charged in the 1996 killing of hip-hop icon Tupac Shakur. Just today, a Nevada grand jury indicted Dwayne Davis on 1 count of murder with a deadly weapon. Investigators say Davis was the on-site commander who ordered the death of Tupac, who was killed at 25. In 2019, Davis admitted in his memoir, Compton Street Legend, that he was in the Cadillac that fired at the rapper. And the oldest sitting U.S. Senator, Dianne Feinstein, dies at age 90. Feinstein was also the first female senator of California. Over her 31 years in the Senate, she advocated for environmental protection, reproductive rights, and gun control. President Joe Biden ordered flags across the country be lowered to half-staff in her honor. And in the Georgia election subversion case, a bail bondsman charged alongside former President Donald Trump is now the first defendant to accept a plea deal. Noah, Victoria.
Thank you, Spencer. One scaly emotional support animal was denied entry into the Phillies game last week.
Find out why the cold-blooded ESA was unable to watch America's favorite pastime.
And cold temperatures return to your forecast. I'll have that in rain chances coming up in Maine weather. Welcome back to OU Nightly, and taking a look at the South Oval right now. It is a very clear skies, a very nice day for Parents Weekend. Today is the first day of Parents Weekend, but it is a hot one, 91 degrees outside. And taking a look at the rest of the state, mid-90s as well, even down in Lawton, 96, Guyman, 97 degrees. First day of October is just in a few days. This is not October weather at all. In these dew points, it's just very sticky when you walk outside. 60s, upper 60s, not very pleasant at all. However, in Guyman, you can see that dry line setup, very low dew points as well. So we have these very warm temperatures, and that is due to this high pressure system setting up here in the Central Plains and the Midwest. This is what we call an omega block. It's because it looks like the Greek omega symbol, and over on one side we have a low pressure system bringing unstable weather, and on the right side we have another low pressure system with unstable weather. But over the next few days, this omega block is going to push through and bring us rain and cooler temperatures as we go into next week. So definitely something we want to keep in mind going into OU Texas weekend, because Tuesday and Wednesday we have more rain chances coming back into the forecast. But tomorrow, when you go out to the game, high of 92 degrees. Take all the precautions you can to stay hydrated, to limit heat exhaustion, because as we go throughout the next few days, those temperatures drop and those rain chances start to come up. So Tuesday, once that front arrives, we drop down to 87 degrees with that 30% chance of rain. And again, going into Wednesday and Thursday. So taking a first look at OU Texas weekend, temperatures for the game looking to be in the low 80s. So while we're still here in Norman, are y'all heading out to any Parents Weekend festivities?
Well, my mom and resident OU Nightly fan is actually watching from the studio today, so I'll be spending the weekend with her.
That's great, Noah.
It's actually Son's weekend for my parents because I'm going home this weekend to spend some little time with them.
Well, thank you, Peyton, for that
Thank you.
forecast.
Now, the scaliest Phillies fan was denied entry to the team's home game this weekend. Wally, the emotional support alligator, was turned away at the door due to the stadium's service animal policies.
Wally and his owner, Joey Hinney, were supposed to meet the team, but were late to the game and unable to sit in the stands. The local icon frequents hospitals and schools, giving cold-blooded hugs and kisses.
I would have let him in. Some Cyclones are on the radar for OU football ahead of this weekend's home matchup.
And our OU Nightly sports team breaks down some of this season's standout players. Coming up next on Big Friday Sports. See you later, alligator.
Looking to break their streak. Team 129's confidence has grown on the field, and head coach Brent Venables has been taking notice.
A little more precise in the scheme because of the knowledge. So our ability to execute with a little more precision is there. As we said, we improved our strength and our speed and our explosiveness with players that are on the roster. And then, players that we recruited also have added, to that mix.
One OU football player is living up to his family name. Nick Anderson on the field totaling 4 touchdowns for the season. The Katy, Texas native looks up to his brother Rodney Anderson, especially when dealing with last season's injury.
I mean, I always heard from my parents that, when those injuries happened, he was down and, first couple of days, were the hardest. But every time I saw him as a kid, he had his head up high, he was laughing, joking. And, he used comedy as one of the things, like one of the buffers. And, I never saw him in a bad mood, so I think that helped me as growing up as a kid. And then when I went through it myself, just asking him for advice, he just always said the same things, just, find other ways to get better and just keep your head high.
Rodney Anderson made his OU debut in 2015, pushing through 2 season-ending injuries in 2016 and 2018. He tallied 16 touchdowns and over 1,000 rushing yards in the Crimson and Cream. Anderson went on to be a 6th-round pick in the 2019 NFL Draft. Taking it on to the other side of the ball at Big 12 Media Days, OU Nightly's Addison Arthur spoke with Danny Stutzman one-on-one to find out more about the big personality behind the star linebacker.
On the field for the Sooners, but we're going to talk a little bit about what he does off the field. So, first question. You're usually wearing sunglasses. Tell us why.
I think, some sunglasses just kind of speak to me. If I'm walking through an airport, I see a sunglass hut, and I kind of hear the whispers of daddy, daddy. Then I have to purchase them, and it's kind of my go-to, what I have to wear.
What do you want people to know when they hear the name Danny Stutzman?
Kind of just a nice, respectful young man with godly values.
It's game day in Norman. You're in the locker room. What song is on, and what dance move are you doing?
Wow. My dad used to always listen to Eye of the Tiger, so that's typically what I put on in the kind of on the van or on the bus ride. And typically I don't really dance. It's kind of after I do a little celebration, after a play. But no dance moves for me unless ask me you got any dance moves you want to show me.
I mean, I kind of like the Dougie. Can we do a little bit of Dougie?
Show me how Dougie.
Teach me how.
Okay. Something slight. I see you.
So you said a couple times in interviews, college is supposed to be fun. What's the best part about college?
I think kind of just being with a group of guys every single day. Obviously football is a big responsibility, but at the end of the day, we're with lifelong friends and able to make memories for life.
Okay, and last question. I think I know the answer. What's your favorite animal?
Ooh, my favorite animal is actually Brett Venables. He's a dog. But with that being said, I'm a wolf,
Off the field, he has a ton of fun, but it's a celebration on the field, too. Stutzman recently won National Defensive Player of the Week. He leads OU in tackles with more than double the next highest teammate and is currently leading the Big 12 in tackles. Reporting from Big 12 Media Days in Arlington, Addison Arthur, OU Nightly.
OU Nightly's Brig Bates is live in studio with more about Iowa State's hunt for redemption this season. Brig?
Thanks, Kaylee. Joe, Iowa State took down Oklahoma State last week to start 1-0 in Big 12 play. Here's my story on the Cyclones turning things around from Big 12 Media Days.
Just 3 seasons ago, the Iowa State Cyclones were playing the Oklahoma Sooners for the Big 12 championship right here at AT&T Stadium. But the Cyclones have spun out of control, finishing 1-8 in Big 12 conference play last season. But head coach Matt Campbell and the Cyclones are focused on not beating themselves heading into the fall.
We've been worthy to suffer sometimes, and I think at our place, our ability and hopefully our humility to understand why there have been setbacks and whatever's impeded us has been able to dissect that and then come together as one to empower us forward. And I think last year, you can point to a lot of different things. There were a lot of things we did well, and there were a lot of things we didn't do well. And I think all of us, from myself to our assistant coaches to our players, having the humility to see where are our gaps and how do we do a great job of filling in those gaps together, moving ourselves forward. That's critical for us.
I would say last year a lot of our games came down to the wire, just one possession, one play, 1 inch. And this offseason we kind of focused on that, just being precise in everything we do. We're not giving up any extra yards off of penalties or even running the wrong routes or being in the wrong coverage, no bust coverages, just little things that can make a difference in a game.
Iowa State left games on the dinner plate, losing 4 games by 7 points or less, and even a loss to OU at home. But they have one more chance at revenge in Norman, September 30th. Reporting from Arlington, Texas, Brig Bates, OU Nightly.
And dropping down a level to high school football, welcome back to Ballin' with Brig. We kick off east of the OKC Metro as the Shawnee Wolves host powerhouse Carl Albert Titans, anchored by 2 future Sooners in Kevin Sperry and Xavier Robinson. There's the 2 Sooners. The Titans didn't waste any time as Xavier Robinson takes the handoff, and no one wants a piece of him as he crosses the end zone. Titans score in just under a minute, and it was all Carl Albert from there. Kevin Sperry, the future quarterback for the Crimson and Cream, takes the keeper 59 yards for a touchdown. Look at those wheels. He goes all the way. Sperry transferred from the Dallas area and making a major impact for the Titans as he finished with 3 touchdowns in the first half alone. And sticking with that Sooner magic, Xavier Robinson tallies his 3rd touchdown of the night with the old school option. Carl Albert Titans go on to skin the Shawnee Wolves 70-0 as OU DNA is shining. Carl Albert moves to 6-0 on the season and looking for another state championship. And the Sooner commit show continues south down 35 as Heritage Hall Chargers quarterback Andy Bass puts on a show. Pauls Valley must not be good at fishing. They couldn't catch bass all night. Chargers go on to win 42-7. And guess what? The Oklahoma high school football coverage continues tonight. Friday night lights kick off with Norman North heading to Broken Arrow. McKell Patterson McDonald and the Westmore Jags travel to Jenks. Community Christian heads south to Washington in a big game in Tulsa featuring Edmond at Owasso, and a crosstown clash to finish it up as Edmond North heads to Santa Fe. Kaylee, Joe, and Melina.
Thanks, Brig. When we come back, we'll talk all things Sooner sports.
From volleyball to soccer to rowing, we'll cover this weekend's hottest matchups for OU. You won't want to miss it.
Welcome back to Big Friday Sports. And if you are heading out to the Palace on the Prairie tomorrow night, it is going to be a hot one once we kick off in the 90s. But don't worry, temperatures will be dropping into the 70s by the end of the game if you find yourself going to Campus Corner to celebrate a Sooner win. Once again, very clear skies for this game, so make sure you stay hydrated. Kaylee Jo Molina.
Thanks, Peyton. OU softball's new home is proving the more, the merrier. OU Athletics announced Love's Field seating capacity has been extended from 3,000 to 4,200. Sooner fans will have the chance to cheer the squad to victory at the new stadium starting the 2024 season. Fall ball for OU begins Wednesday with the first installment of the Oklahoma Battle Series.
And last night, OU soccer got wrecked by number 14 Texas Tech 2-0. This is the first Big 12 loss for the Crimson Cream this season. The Sooners will host number 19 UCF on... This has been Big Friday Sports. I'm Melina Samir.
Have a fun and football-filled weekend.
Good night.